Love, light, peace, and abundance. It is I, Queen Essence, and welcome to Poetry Unraveled. It is another Thursday that we get to share space, and I'm grateful for your presence and for those that watch after this goes live. I appreciate you as well. I really appreciate everyone that has taken the time to view these episodes, to like, to share, to comment on what it is that they have received. These episodes are not only being shared live, however, they are also being shared on YouTube. And I am grateful for the expansion that has taken place. I am truly honored to be of service to Spirit, to Source, to the Most High, to be a vessel to share the messages with the collective. And today is no different. We will be receiving a transmission, and I am excited to see what comes through today. And I will that you are excited as well. We are embarking upon the end of the month. And that means that a new issue of Pulse Poetry magazine will be released on April 1st. So if you haven't already, go on over to Pulse Poetry on Facebook, on YouTube, and Instagram to subscribe so that you can read and experience the energy of the poetry that is being expressed from the hearts of the artists. And there's so many different flavors, there's so many different artists, so much creativity, so much love, light, laughter, and there's even a little spicy section too for those that like a little spice in their life. So again, that's Post Poetry Magazine on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you were tuned in to last week's episode, um, you may remember that there was an idea that was expressed about there's so many different ways that the Most High could flip this thing that I leave myself open. And for those that didn't see the episode, I was speaking about the idea of this being a divine plan that we are living out. And because we are co-creating with Source, there are some things that we do have some input on. And there are some things that are outside of our control that are solely up to Source. And because Source is the all in all and the plan is so vast, right? The universe and creation is so vast. There's so many different elements. I'm gonna slow down today. There's so many different elements that we don't even think to consider that the Most High has already considered and factored in. And there's so many unseen components that we're unable to see, right? To have a conscious awareness of that the Most High has already orchestrated and put into place. So, because of this, I have positioned myself to be in the flow state, right? And what is the flow state? The flow state is a way of being that I'm not locked in to any one particular way that a thing has to unfold, right? As they say, I'm not married to that, to any particular outcome or way of coming into fruition, right? I'm very much open to being able to read the signs and the divine breadcrumbs and omens that are being shown to help navigate and guide us on our path, right? And I am reminded of the book The Alchemist. And in The Alchemist, Santiago was on his personal legacy. Like he was on his journey to discover his personal legacy. And he had been given a dream. And in the dream, he had found treasure. And in the reality that he was in, he didn't even really consider it to be a tangible thing that could take place because he was a shepherd. He was a young shepherd. He had a flock, if I recall, of like 40 or 60 sheep. He was doing quite well for himself. He loved traveling. So he would travel with his flock and he would sell their wool. And he had different relationships with people in different parts of the country that he lived in because of him being I would say one of the righteous, right? In him having the dream, that was like the seed, right? It was like that was the vision that was shown to him of his future reality that in the moment he had no way of realizing or bringing it into reality. However, along his journey, he met a gypsy woman and she told him of his future um, in terms of, oh, let me rewind. He went to her about the dream because he had the dream back to back. He had it 2 nights in a row, if I recall correctly. However, the idea is that he had the same exact dream twice. He went to this woman who was known for deciphering dreams. He told her the dream, and she told him what she received from her divine connection to source, right? And it confirmed that the dream was accurate and that he would in fact find the treasure. And she trusted so much in her connection to source that she made him promise that he would give her a percentage. It was 10%, 10% of the treasure once he found it. And he agreed because again, he's one of the righteous. He has a great heart. He's one of the chosen. However you want to identify him. However, he's one of God's children, one of the most high's children, right? And after her, he still wasn't 100% solid. He wasn't 100% sold that the dream was a real thing. However, he continued to follow the omens that were being shown to him on where to go and what to do. And on his way to go back to a town where he had visited plenty of times before, and the last time he was there, which was the previous year, because he goes during a certain season. So let's say it was the fall, right? So he was there last fall, and he met a young woman that had struck his interest. So he was excited to not only go back to handle the business of selling his wool to her father, who was a shopkeeper. He also was excited to go back and see her because he had this whole vision on his future, right? This was what he had came up with for his future. So he's traveling to go back to this town. And unbeknownst to him, he met someone that shifted the whole trajectory of his life, really. And this was a being that was presented to him who's also in alignment with his personal legacy, with his divine purpose and being on the earth, I'll say, because this is still a book, right? However, being present or being alive, and he spoke to him from divinity, and he knew of the dream. He knew of the boy's destiny in a way that nobody would have known, right? And then in him speaking with him and him sharing different things with him, it resonated to him that he should take the chance, right? He should pursue, because the gentleman, his name was, it'll come to me. However, he was a king, and he presented himself to him and sharing with him, confirming that the vision that he seen for his life was actually accurate. And he explained to him the idea about a personal legacy. And he explained to him about how the universal structure or system works, and how when you are in alignment with pursuing why you came here, your purpose, everything is lined up for you to be successful. The most High puts things in place. The universe supports you. Your spirit teams and guides are available to help you navigate to continue to go in the direction that you're supposed to go so you can be successful. Long story short, he was successful with finding his treasure, right? So he was, oh, and he also found love. It wasn't in the place that he thought it was going to be. However, it was far greater than what he could have ever imagined. The experience, the connection, and the quality of woman that was for him, and the love that they had for each other from their essence, not from anything physical or frivolous, from their essence. There was an energetic experience that they had when they first met, right? So I'm saying all of that because in relationship to what I spoke about last week, there's so many ways that this plan can unfold, right? And we do ourselves a disservice when we are so fixated on one way. And then when it doesn't work out that way, then we feel defeated. I feel a lot of energy. So I'm balancing my energy a little bit. I appreciate you holding space for me as I channel this transmission. The human mind wants to fight against and push and force a thing to take place. However, that's the opposite of being in a flow state. That is an indicator that we are imbalanced in our masculine energy, because the masculine energy is the doer, the builder, the one that is um, has structure and systems, right, on how things operate. And we need both, right? Like we need the masculine energy. However, when we find ourselves in a space where we're forcing an outcome, we're forcing a thing to take place, we're trying to make it happen. We feel like, and I was in that space before in my life after after I was divorced, and I found myself having to pick up the shattered pieces, right, of a life that I once knew, and I had to decipher what pieces were still of value, right? So I had to, and then it was such a pressing situation to where I had to secure housing and stability for us. So I was in a space of making it happen, right? I wasn't in a space where I could go with the flow, right? I had to really get down with the get down. However, it has its place. When we are constantly forcing and trying to make things happen, we're out of balance, as I stated, right? Which doesn't allow for us to be in the flow state, right? Which means that our antenna, our current to source, there is a short in it, right? Because we're in balance, because we're trying to do and make it happen without recognizing that we have to get in the passenger seat, right? We got to be that passenger princess sometimes, or passenger prince sometimes, and be in alignment with the Most High, taking the wheel. And sometimes, most times, when we're in a flow state and spirit is in the driver's seat, we don't know what spirit has in store, right? Like we don't know where spirit is taking us or what is about to unfold next. However, because we have surrendered to the one that does know, to the all knower, to the best knower, to the greatest knower, to the architect of it all, then we trust in the divine unfolding that's taking place without having any understanding, right? And it makes me think about that statement of understanding is the last to come, right? And for so many years, being in a spiritual university, that was an idea that was expressed to us that we lived by. Um, However, in my spiritual maturity, I've grown so much in understanding that from a higher frequency, that understanding comes at the perfect time, right? When we utilize the language last, right, it's like it almost gives the appearance or the vibration that there's so much that one must go through before you get to the level of understanding, right? And that's not to say that there aren't some cases where that is accurate, right? However, that is not the only way, right? That's not the way that we should process it. I would advise or encourage the exploration of it, that the understanding comes at the time that you're ready to receive the understanding, right? So when we keep that in mind and we trust in the divine unfolding and we trust in the fact that we are with source, right? It's so amazing to me that so many of us, in whatever denomination, whatever rhythm of thought that you operate in, because to me it's all the same, it's just different expressions of the same thing. And we're all different beings, so we all gravitate to different things that's going to solidify us in our relationship and connection to the Most High, right? However, there's so many of us that say that we have this close and personal relationship with God, with Source, with Spirit, with Jesus, with Buddha, with whoever, right? However, when it comes to really living that and showing and proving, I was just checking the mic, making sure it was on. Um, when it's time for us to show and prove that, right? To really live and lean into that knowing, many of us fall short because we're not able to see it with our tangible eyes. We're not able to put our hands on it, and we don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. So again, our mind tries to make sense of it, tries to reason it, tries to rationalize it. And then our human part, meaning this flesh, right? This body, then goes into motion to do what it thinks is best based upon the instructions that it received from the mind. However, sometimes, right? Sometimes we have to tell our mind to relax, right? Like, you not going to understand this because this is above your pay grade, as they say, right? This is above the mental, right? It's the physical, it's the mental, then it's the spiritual. And when you get into the spiritual, the mental has to take a back seat, you know? And I won't even say the passenger seat. I'm saying the back seat because remember, source, spirit, God is in the driver's seat. Your spirit is in your all-knowing, your higher self, your direct fraction of source, right, is in the passenger seat. So your mind got to get in the back seat. And sometimes you got to put that bad boy in the trunk. Okay. You got to put him in the trunk because the nagging experience that the mind can produce sometimes, and this is what people speak about overthinking, right? Sometimes that nagging experience can be a bit much, so sometimes you just got to put them all the way in the trunk. Like, this is above your pay grade and I don't even have the time, the space, and the capacity to entertain you or engage with you right now because I'm too focused on surrendering, right? I'm too focused on trusting, right? I'm too focused on looking or expecting the omens, right? Expecting the breadcrumbs. So I don't have time for you. And this is the process of living in flow, right? There's so many times that my mind, when I was like in the earlier stages of this, and I didn't even know that this is what was being cultivated when I was going through it. However, there was times where my mind, I'm a Virgo, right? I'm ruled by Mercury. So I'm a thinker, right? I'm a thinker. So my mind would try to solve, problem solve, right? And it wasn't a time to problem solve. It was a time to observe and allow things to unfold and to see what comes up in me, right? Because what was coming up was the things that I needed to clear out. So I needed to have the space to be able to give attention to the things that was coming up, unpack them, unravel them, explore them, check them out, and extract what was needed and then release or transmute the rest. However, if my mind was involved, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I would not have been able to do that in an authentic manner that would have really served me. So um, I've lived the process, right, of putting your mind at ease so that you can operate in the flow state. And in this flow state is where you really get to see the divinity of your connection to source, to spirit, to God. And you really get to build that one-on-one, right? You really get to see for yourself that you're never alone, right? That you're always being guided, supported, and you're so loved, right? The love that we have available to us is beyond our human comprehension. And there are so many beings, life forms, divine energies, right, that are supporting us and rooting for us in the unseen realms. That if we were to only ask for the support, ask for the assistance, ask for the guidance, ask to be held, right, we would receive it like that. However, because we're so caught up in the 3D and the physical and the trying to make and do and be, we miss what is real and what is available for us. So this is a reminder to some, and this is a seed being planted for others, that in the moments where you feel the most alone, you are not. The moments when you feel like you're not alone, you're not bugging. Like you're not tripping, you're not imagining it. Like there are beings that are there, right? There are angels that walk with you. There are ancestors that are supporting and backing you. There are ascended masters and divine guides that you have relationships with from lifetimes. Like you have done this work with them previous till now. And they are ready, willing, and more than capable and able to show you that you're not alone and that you are loved and supported, most importantly, by source, right? And if we were to allow ourselves to get back in balance, right? Put our masculine energy in balance, in check, and lean into our feminine energy of receptivity. Be willing to receive guidance, receive support, receive energy, receive love, receive um, elevation, right? Activation, initiation, remembrance, right? Then we would be able to see that there's so much more available to us all. And the vision that you have for yourself, that dream that you have for yourself, that you feel like because it didn't happen the way that you thought it was going to happen or the way that you had planned for it to happen, and you feel like it's never going to happen, that's not accurate. What I found is that that statement that we have a plan, however, the Most High's plan is greater than ours, is so accurate. I think it is important to have a goal, right? To have a direction that you want to go in. However, I think it's important to be like water and be fluid, right? The water goes according to the current, right? The direction of the water, it depends on the wind, right? And then in other circumstances, with like creeks and rivers or streams, right? It's according to the structure of the landmass, right? So if there's rocks in the way, if how the curves, the water moves accordingly. The water doesn't try to fight against, it flows. So if we could position ourselves to be that same way, we will be in such a blessed position to knowing who we excuse me, to know who we are and why we're here. And there's so many of us that it resonates like, I'm here for something great. Like I didn't just come here to pay bills and work, every day until I'm 65 if I'm blessed, right? I seen a TikTok where a woman was starting a GoFundMe for a woman that was in her 70s still working at a diner, and she could barely walk. And when it was asked of her, why was she still working? She said because she cannot survive off of, I think it was 991 she was getting every month from Social Security, or 771. It was under $1,000 she was getting every month for Social Security. So she said she needed to work to supplement income. We're not here to just do that, right? Like, there are some of us that are here to help shift the frequency of the planet. There's some of us, there are some of us that are here to bring in the new. And the new is being in balance, having your masculine and feminine energy in balance so that you can reconnect, plug back into the source, to the most high, to God, to whoever it is. I will that you are in a place where you're able to, understand, and I use it universally, right? However, this is what we are here for, right? And then from that divine connection, right? That remembering of who we are and our divine assignment, then we're going to experience everything that our heart desires. Every vision, every dream that we had, every omen will all start to make sense, and we'll be able to see that it is in fact available for us in this reality. So that is the completion of today's transmission. And I will that you have received it in the energy and the spirit and the divinity of what it was given, because I could feel the energy. I mean, I feel it tingling throughout my body, right? And I will that I know the vibration is being emitted. I know it is. And I know that those that are in alignment and that are ready are going to receive it. And I look forward to reading your comments, and perhaps someday crossing paths with you in the 3D realm. However, until then, I'm going to read the poem and I'm going to conclude today's broadcast because I want to respect our time. We're already at 28 minutes. So today's poem is called A Cosmic Promise to You. Dear future husband, the journey here has been a sacred tide, a labyrinth of lessons where truth could not hide. Through valleys of shadows and peaks of grace, I've arrived to meet you in this destined place. Do you feel it? The pulse, the vibration, the energy of lifetimes, a divine orchestration. Healing hands that soothe your soul, a kiss on your brow, your heart now swole. Let us rise together, higher realms we'll explore, where the language of love is whispered and more. Speak to my spirit, let your words take flight, tantalize my mind, illuminate the night. Let us weep when we need, as love mends each tear. Dream of tomorrows with vision crystal clear. With hearts unguarded, we'll make our way, building a world where light holds sway. Gratitude to the divine for this union we embrace. Two souls reunited in a cosmic space. I see you a mirror of me. I see in you a mirror of me, depths of truth in your entity. Together, we'll create a space for our inner child to play, free to laugh, to dance, to stay. A love so pure, it commands the stars, a union ordained beyond earthly bars. Shall we craft rituals of balance and bliss? Lemongrass, satin, and twilight's kiss? Under the moon, let's paint memories untold, a canvas of moments in hues of gold. You are the artistry etched in my skies, the constellations woven where destiny lies, a power couple, divine and free, anchored in love, perfect synastry. Dear love, I surrender to the flow of our fate. Magnetized by the stars, it's never too late. Let's build a legacy of light, a revolution of love, guided by the heavens and blessings from above. In you, I find the calm of the seas, the strength of the mountains, the whisper of trees. And so, my love, this vow I make to honor the divine in you for both our sakes. Poem. Until the next time, love, light, and peace, y'all.